Well, it's just past 8 this Tuesday morning and we're back with another edition of Breakfast News. Over the next 60 minutes, we'll get you the latest from national politics, international sports and business. Lots to look forward to. Also, the Bihar election results are going to be out. 243 constituencies, 3,733 candidates in the fray. The fate of them will be decided in a little while from now. It's Judgment Day there in Battleground Bihar. We'll get you all the movers and shakers from that particular election results as it unfolds. Remember, you need to cut the noise and keep your poise as you get those election results numbers. We'll get you those numbers as it unfolds there in the state of Bihar with our team of reporters who are there on every counting centers across the state in the 38 districts. We'll get you all the latest from there. I'm Anil Thomas. With me this morning is my co-anchor Nancy Kohli. Nancy, good morning.
Good morning, Anil. How are you doing this morning? Well, full of energy you are.
Feeling excited about the Bihar results that are going to unfold in a little while.
Okay, yes, absolutely. We'll be focusing on that. Well, the counting there for the Bihar Assembly elections has just begun. In fact, we'll be getting you all the updates. And like Anil mentioned, we have our team of reporters there present on the ground, bringing us up to speed with all the developments that are taking place on the ground. We'll get you all of that. And more news from across the nation, world, sports and business updates up in the next 1 hour. Stay with us. Let's begin with the headlines.
Well, counting of votes for 243 seats of Bihar Legislative Assembly in progress. Counting also on for the by-polls of 58 assembly seats across many states and Valmiki Nagar Lok Sabha constituency today.
Three-tier security in place as the counting stations in Bihar. 55 counting stations set up across 38 districts of the state. The counting process followed the COVID-19 protocol.
Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman attends the first meeting of the BRICS finance ministers and central bank governors. Lays importance on consensus solution to address the issue of taxation of digital economy.
Museums, art galleries and exhibitions under the Ministry of Culture to reopen today under Unlock 5.0 guidelines by the Home Affairs Ministry. The Ministry of Culture had issued the SOPs for reopening of these cultural institutions last week.
Global markets rally after Pfizer vaccine news. Wall Street hits record highs. European shares jump to an 8-month high. Joe Biden's projected victory in United States elections also cited as a reason for the Monday rally.
And US President Donald Trump fires Defense Secretary Mark Esper, announces Chris Miller as the acting Secretary of Defense. Miller is the director of the US National Counter-Terror Center. And first up, all our eyes on what's happening in Bihar, as today is the counting day there for the Bihar Assembly elections.
Well, counting of votes for Bihar Assembly elections has started. Elections to the 243-member Bihar Legislative Assembly was held in 3 phases. The first phase of polling was on the 28th of October that covered 71 constituency, while polling for the second phase took place on the 3rd of November that covered 94 seats. The third and final phase of voting took place on the 7th of this month for 78 seats. By poll for Valmiki Nagar Lok Sabha seat in Bihar and 4 assembly seats in Manipur were also held simultaneously.
And let's now go across to our correspondent Abhishek Jha, who's joining us with more inputs on what's really happening in Bihar as far as the counting is concerned for the Bihar Assembly elections. Let's go across to our correspondent Abhishek. Good morning. It's clearly a very critical day, a judgment day there for Bihar. We'll know who's, where, of course, whose fate really hangs where. We'll know today in some time from now. What can you share with us as far as the ground developments are concerned, all the apparatus there, and as far as counting is concerned and adhering to COVID-19 protocol, all the security measures put in place?
So Nancy, almost 38 districts and 55 counting centers have been made to count all the votes that were cast during the assembly election in three phases of Bihar. Appropriate measures and appropriate health safety protocols have been ensured at every counting station, where the tables have been arranged in a certain at certain distances. Hygienic and sanitization works are in a very continuous manner there. Yesterday only, Election Commissioner Srinivas talking with DD News, he also said that he has ensured that no health safety protocol will be violated at counting centers at least. Now, the question is, when the results starts coming out, whether the political parties, their leaders and their supporters are going to adhere with this COVID protocol because of the whimsical and enthusiasm that they will have in rallying and celebration. How are they going to continue maintain their social distancing? This is one thing that many political leaders in the state have asked their supporters to to follow those COVID protocols and not create anything that is in violation of this COVID protocol. Also, administration is at tightrope. It has ensured that in every district almost, and every counting centers wherever there is counting going on, traffic rules have been made in, there has been diversions, and so many traffic routes have been changed because of the anticipated crowding that is going to happen around the counting booths and after the results would be out. So these are the administrative and election commission's measures that has been taken place, that has been there.
Abhishek, can you look at this particular election process that took place over 3 months, over 3 phases? How would you see? There were close to 100 poll violations when it comes to COVID, against which FIRs were raised. On counting day, what are the measures being taken, especially when it comes to maintaining COVID-19 protocols, when it comes to celebrations and party workers, cutting across party lines?
So, cutting across party lines, leaders have asked their supporters not to come out in large numbers, or even if they come out in large numbers, they should not violate those health safety protocols like maintaining social distances and wearing masks. But Anil, this would be something really difficult to practice, because once you are in that whims and celebratory mode, it is hardly a concern in that moment at least. So we'll have to see how the administration deal with that, because we have seen we have been told that so many diversion and traffic rules have been put in place in various districts and county places. Currently I am at the RJD office in Patna, where there is still not as much crowd because of the anticipated result that will start coming out a few minutes from now. And as the result starts coming out, we expect so many senior leaders of party and supporters of the party gathering here, and then we'll have more of a mood of the victory here also, and we'll be reporting you that.
Okay, Abhishek, as far as these elections are concerned, would you say that they have broken a pattern of sorts as far as, politicizing various issues on the ground by, of course, political parties and representatives are concerned? Because today we are seeing the electorate, they are much more aware, and they are much more responsible as well, because, they would not have just voted on politics or caste basis, which is so prevalent in Bihar, but also what would have remained at the core of their hearts must have been development, good governance, education and employment.
So exactly, Nancy, talking about governance and good governance, especially here at RJD office, there is this huge flex poster of RJD office, where you see that Naya Soch, Naya Bihar, Yuva Sarkar Ab Ki Baar. At this huge size of poster, there is not a single person's imagery there. It's just Tejasvi Yadav at the corner and lantern, that is the symbol of party. No senior leader or past leader, Lalu Yadav, Rabri Devi, or even Misa Bharti, who is representing the party at Rajya Sabha, has found any place at the posters. This is in a way a symbolic move from the 90s of Bihar, which was ruled by Lalu Rabri, and people have those images and those memory of lawlessness, and when Bihar almost fell at every parameter of development in education and social indexes. So to have people not reminding that memory of 90s of Bihar, Tejasvi Yadav has ensured that this time around the focus should be on him. He's just 31. So the youth energy, education, healthcare infrastructure, employment, these have been the issues that he has tried to push at the center stage, and he has been quite successful because so many other parties, once he declared that the first decision in his cabinet will be providing 1 million jobs to the youth of the state, every other party had to make an underlining statement that they are also going to provide job opportunities to the youth. So in a way, the whole debate and discourse during the Bihar election has shifted to youth, development, employment, and of course there was this women factor also, which has in the past also they have voted in large numbers and they have favored JDU candidate and Chief Minister Nitish Kumar. So this that women factor is also one of the major chunk of voters, and if they sway in favor of any other political parties, they can actually change their prospects also. These have been the major issues and discourses that has happened in the last 3 months of assembly polling in Bihar.
Okay, Abhishek, considering the sense that Bihar is the third most populous state in India, what are the new social equations that one could see that could emerge post this election?
Social equation, Anil, could you elaborate on that?
Well, I mean social equations, we generally talking about caste politics. Since you mentioned women going with JDU, it could also be the youth that could go with, Tejaswi.
Of course, Anil, and with these two major chunk of voters, women voters and youth, because youth of today's Bihar, they are not as much deeply rooted in their casteist biases, because had it been the problem of Bihar that youth do still believe about their caste and their past credentials of family, it would have been a different discourse throughout the election. But we have seen that all political parties, though in the back end of their mind, they have ensured that while allocating tickets to the party candidates, they have put certain consideration also based on the caste, and if particular region or particular seat has a particular domination of a particular caste. So these have also played a role, but they have not played the only role. And that is a move from the past years when Bihar election would be based on the deep political and caste divide. From here onwards, we can see that since this development issue has taken center stage in Bihar, the next election or the upcoming discourses and political and social discourses in Bihar will not be influenced or based just on the issues of caste and religion. They will be based on the demand of youth, women, and other opportunities.
Absolutely.
So it's going to be an interesting elections to watch out for, at least when the results are coming. Battleground Bihar all gearing up, slowly trends will come out in a little while from now. We'll come back to you for more updates, Abhishek. You keep yourself well hydrated, and we'll come back to you for more updates on that particular story.
Absolutely, yes. We'll keep all our eyes as far as the counting day in Bihar is concerned. And talking about the arrangements that have been put in place, well, those are elaborate clearly by the poll panel, the Election Commission of India as well. And for the safe and transparent counting of votes for the assembly elections in Bihar today. Now, 55 counting centers have been set up in 38 districts of the state. The Election Commission has also issued guidelines in view of COVID-19 protocol. The counting centers will be disinfected before, during and after the counting. Social distancing and other safety norms will be followed and adhered to for each activity. Mask is necessary for all the counting officials. And not more than 7 counting tables will be allowed in the counting halls to maintain social distancing. And we are going across now to our correspondent Salman Haider, who is joining us from Patna. Salman, of course, Bihar was the first state to go in the country to polls amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, amidst the COVID-19 protocol. And that's why clearly also, apart from, all the important factors, all eyes were on Bihar as far as maintaining a proper environment for safeguarding oneself from COVID-19 is concerned, and that's why perhaps so many precautions being taken. Just take us through the security arrangements, the arrangements at the counting center where you are, and what are the people of the state, had aspired for and voted for. What's the sense you're getting?
Yes, Nancy, the three-tier security cordon has been put in place at all the 55 counting centers across the state. And COVID norms, as you already told our viewers, that COVID norms are being followed very strictly here, and everything is properly in place, and counting is taking place by passing the hour. So the counting is has started, and let us see what happens during the day. Everyone is having his finger crossed, including the political parties and candidates and general public also. So the atmosphere is very pleasant here, the weather is very pleasant, and the day has started with a good note. So let us hope everything would be fine in these COVID challenges, among the COVID challenges.
Okay.
Yes, Nancy.
Salman, considering the fact that, there is a 4% plus swing when it comes to women voters coming on and voting in this particular assembly elections, and women voters generally go with the JDU. What's that catchphrase, or what's the X factor that works something in favor of Tejasvi Yadav or the RJD?
Mostly the women, as far as women are concerned particularly, they were happy with the JDU's, Nitish Kumar's move of liquor ban, and also a large number of women are engaged in self-help groups. Around 10 lakh self-help groups has been made during past 15 years, and it is a livelihood mission, a state livelihood mission called Jivika. So the prosperity among the women, this regime, the present regime has brought about.
Right.
And also the employment in police
Salman.
forces, also the women were in favor of JDU. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Nancy.
All right, Salman Haider, thanks very much for those updates. We'll of course be coming back to you for regular news updates as far as the counting day in Bihar is concerned. Let's also now go across to our correspondent here in the national capital at the BJP headquarters. Vishal Barristo is there. Vishal, good morning. Just give us a sense of what the party workers there are feeling. It's an important day for all the political parties and the representatives.
Well, absolutely. A very good morning to you, Nancy and Anil Thomas. It's a very big day for the BJP, especially because it is the largest party in the country with its maximum presence in the parliament. And remember, it's not only Bihar, but also 58 seats of the by-elections in 11 states that are up for grabs. As far as the party workers are concerned, they are still very much optimistic as far as the results in Bihar are concerned, because they are saying that history have shown that exit polls haven't been coming out to be true, and going by that, they are quite optimistic despite the exit polls showing that there is a change in Bihar. But BJP is very much optimistic, and they are still insisting that the double engine government in Bihar, both at the center and the state, is the need of the hour for Bihar, particularly at a time when the country and the world is fighting COVID-19, and that is why development, employment are the key issues. Now, these were the issues that were raised by RJD in Bihar, but BJP insists that it has done a very good work. Remember that BJP has been saying, along with JDU, that reminding people of the state that jungle Raj of the bygone era, and that is why they are saying that you have to compare between the two regimes. What Nitish Kumar, the NDA candidate of the chief minister in Bihar, has done, and his regime has done a very good work. And RJD is also very much aware of the law and order, and that is why, despite the exit poll showing that RJD is doing very well, Tejasvi tweeted that all the party cadre should maintain calm, and they should follow the rules and regulations. So both sides are quite optimistic. And let me also tell you that Tej Pratap this morning has tweeted Tejasvi Bhava Bihar. So optimism on both sides. This is what I can say.
Absolutely.
Since you mentioned optimism, Vishal, there, looking at the way this particular elections has panned out, there are always smaller parties in elections that are in fray. How do you see this particular elections, especially in Bihar, where there are smaller parties in play? Which which, combined could they hurt more, the NDA or the Mahagathbandhan?
Well, it's a very difficult question to answer, Anil, because when we talk about NDA, obviously the NDA were banking high, have been banking high, like any other states, on the face of the Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been the victory factor for not only the BJP but also NDA. But at the same time, when we look at the 31-year-old leader of the RJD, now things are quite different, and it seems that the RJD has also given a good fight. I'm not talking about what exit polls have been saying. We should wait and watch, because in the past we have seen that exit polls haven't been true. But let's see what happens as far as the BJP atmosphere is concerned here. They have been greeted. We have been greeted with the halwa and puri. So this shows the optimism of the here, and they are saying that wait and watch, and the NDA would form a government once again in Bihar. So as far as the smaller parties are concerned, they have played a key role as far as the Mahagathbandhan is concerned. But as far as NDA is there, it is largely the face of the Prime Minister and yes, the JDU led by Chief Minister Nitish Kumar.
Early trends clearly indicating a neck-and-neck fight in this particular Bihar battleground. We'll get you all the latest from that particular election as it's unfold. As Vishal put it very rightly, it's not only Bihar elections but also 11 states, 58 by-elections, or 58 seats where by-elections are taking place in 11 states are also on. Currently counting process has begun there. Voting for the by-elections, so the by-polls to the 54 assembly seats in the 10 states were also held on the 3rd of this month. The states are Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, Uttar Pradesh, Jharkhand, Karnataka, Odisha, Haryana, Chhattisgarh, Telangana and Nagaland.
And moving on now, the Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman attended the first BRICS Finance Ministers and the Central Bank Governors meeting. The agenda of the meeting included discussions on the outcomes of the G20 Saudi presidency in 2020, a digital platform to encourage infrastructure investments, and expansion of the membership of the new development bank. On the ongoing international efforts to find a solution to the issue of taxation of digital economy, the minister said that a consensus solution will play an important role in ensuring fairness, equity and sustainability of the tax systems. The BRICS finance ministers and the central bank governors also discussed the expansion of the membership of the new development bank. The finance minister supported the expansion of the membership of the bank and emphasized the importance of regional balance. The minister also shared her perspective on Russia's initiative to develop an integrated digital platform.
The 15th Finance Commission, led by Chairman N. Singh, submitted its report for the period 2021-22 to 2025-26 to President Ramnath Kovind. Last year, the Commission had submitted its report containing recommendations for the year 2020-21, which was accepted by the Union Government and tabled in the Parliament on Jan 30th, 2020. The Commission was asked to give its recommendations on many unique and wide-ranging issues in its terms of reference. The Commission was also asked to examine whether a separate mechanism for funding of defence and internal security ought to be set up, and if so, how such a mechanism could be operationalized.
The Union Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan has reviewed the COVID-19 situation in 9 states and has emphasized on the COVID prevention protocols, including wearing masks and ensuring proper social distancing. The recovery rate has increased to 92.56%.
In the fight against COVID-19, India has achieved a number of significant milestones. According to the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, India's recovery rate has become 92.56%. The ministry has underlined India's achievement through a graphic chart, which points out that positivity rate in the country was 7.94% on 19th October, which decreased to 7.67% on 25th October, 7.43% on 2nd November, and became 7.23% on 8th November. The pace of daily recovery of COVID patients has also become fast. Meanwhile, Union Minister of Health and Family Welfare Dr. Harshvardhan on Monday interacted with the state health ministers and principal secretaries of 9 states, which include Andhra Pradesh, Assam, West Bengal, Rajasthan, Himachal Pradesh, Telangana, Punjab, Haryana and Kerala, restating his concern that the coming winter and the long festive season pose a significant risk that could threaten the gains made collectively till now against COVID-19. Union Health Minister said that all of us need to be more vigilant for the entire festive season. He asked state governments to ensure that people follow COVID guidelines and maintain social distancing.
कोविड से जंग लड़ने के लिए कोई बहुत बड़ी रॉकेट साइंस का इस्तेमाल नहीं करना है। मास्क का ठीक प्रकार से इस्तेमाल करना है सबको। 2 गज की दूरी हर समय बनाकर रखनी है। हाथ को साबुन से, पानी से सैनिटाइज करके रखना है। कड़क सर्दी पड़ती है, वो वाले महीने भी आने वाले हैं और रेस्पिरेटरी वायरस है। रेस्पिरेटरी वायरस के ज़्यादा विंटर्स में फैलने की संभावना होती है।
In Delhi, the spike in COVID cases has broken all previous records. As per the data released on Sunday, in the last 24 hours, 7,745 new cases have surfaced in the capital, which is a record increase in single-day cases. Besides, the number of active cases has reached around 42,000 and positivity rate has become 15.26. Addressing media persons on Monday, Delhi Health Minister said that people are not following COVID guidelines strictly. That's why cases have increased in Delhi. He said that number of ICU is being increased in Delhi government hospitals to cope with the situation.
8,072 बेड ऑक्यूपाइड है और 8,000 के करीब बेड खाली हैं। लगभग 50% बेड ऑक्यूपाइड है, 50% हमारे पास अवेलेबल है। लॉकडाउन से भी ज़्यादा फायदा है मास्क लगाने का। कई सारे लोग मास्क नहीं लगा रहे हैं और कई सारे लोगों को लगता है कि भाई हमें तो कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा, तो वो बड़ा खतरनाक है कि भाई वो अगर वो सोचते हैं कि उनको कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा।
Government's focus is on testing and tracking in the fight against COVID-19. According to ICMR, a total of 11,85,72,192 samples were tested till 8th November. Among them, 8,35,401 samples were tested on Sunday. DD India.
Well, Union Housing and Urban Affairs Minister Hardeep Singh Puri has stated that future mobility is about striving towards environment-friendly, integrated, automated and personalized travel on demand. New advancements like intelligent transportation systems and traffic management applications are in the pipeline for enhanced mobility in major cities. He was speaking at the 13th Urban Mobility India Conference on the theme of emerging trends in urban mobility in New Delhi on Monday.
Urban transport, which is the driver of economic activity, will need to be firewalled to the extent possible. Innovative solutions such as flexible working hours, work from home, which were hitherto not mainstream, will have to be embedded now even more deeply. Citizens, who are the major stakeholders, will need to join this collaborative effort by being more cautious, disciplined, and willing to be flexible in order to adapt and adhere to the steps put in place by city governments and transport authorities.
Moving on now, the Union Minister of Coal and Mines Prahlad Joshi addressed the media on the completion of the bidding process for commercial coal mine auction in New Delhi. The minister said that the results of the auctions have been historic.
The result of these auctions have been historic and clearly prove that opening of the coal sector was a step in the right direction, and it contributes to the growth of many sectors, because as we know, coal is not just it is the coal sector, it can add to the many sector, including power, steel and many things. I don't want to go into that detail.
Hitting out at Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee over the deteriorating law and order situation in West Bengal, BJP's youth wing president Tejasvi Surya has said that he has given a privileged notice to the Lok Sabha Speaker against the state's administration's top brass, including the police commissioners of Kolkata and Howrah.
There is a complete collapse of law and order in West Bengal, that police stations which have to work under the constitution as per rule of law function as branch offices of the TMC party. It is the duty of every single member of parliament our solemn constitutional obligation to raise voice against atrocities that is inflicted upon the common man, and by attempting to assault us, have submitted a representation to the Honorable Speaker Lok Sabha. He has promised us that he will consider our plea and will forward our representation to the Privileges Committee for further appropriate action.
Moving on now, actor Arjun Rampal has been summoned by the Narcotics Control Bureau, which searched his home in Mumbai in its investigations into drugs allegations linked to the film industry. The actor has been asked to join the investigation on 11th November. His electronic gadgets have also been seized by the NCB.
Well, the National Green Tribunal has banned firecrackers till November 30th in all places with an AQI which is poor or in the worst category. Green crackers for 2 hours are allowed in places with moderate or below AQI. All states and union territories have been directed to initiate drives to contain air pollution from all sources because of the double whammy of pollution and COVID-19. Delhi, which is suffering from hazardous air quality, is also seeing a third wave of COVID with 7,745 cases being recorded, the highest to date on Sunday.
Now, a model of the anti-satellite, the ASAT missile installed inside the DRDO Bhavan premises was unveiled by the Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh in the presence of the Minister for Road Transport and Highways Nitin Gadkari and Chairman DRDO Dr. G. Satish Reddy. The successful conduct of the mission Shakti made India the fourth nation in the world with the capability to defend its assets in the outer space. Now, on this occasion, the Raksha Mantri appreciated the innovative accomplishment of the team of the scientists there. The DRDO chairman, Dr. G. Satish Reddy, stated that the installation of the ASAT model will inspire the DRDO fraternity to take up many more such challenging missions in the future.
The Bombay High Court on Monday refused to grant interim bail to journalist Arnab Goswami in the 2018 case of abetment to suicide. A division bench of Justice S.S. Shinde and M.S. Karnik said observations made by this court was only prima facie restricted to this application and shall not affect any trial matter in any court.
Now, museums, art galleries and exhibitions under the Ministry of Culture will reopen from today under Unlock 5.0 guidelines by the Home Affairs Ministry. And all these institutions were shut since a nationwide lockdown was announced in March this year to contain the spread of COVID-19. The Ministry of Culture had last week issued the standard operating procedures for reopening of these cultural institutions. The temperature screening of all the visitors have been made mandatory, along with registering their contact details to ensure tracking in case any positive case is found in the museum and the art gallery. Sanitization of the premises at regular intervals and wearing of masks by all the visitors has also been made mandatory, while the use of audio guides has been barred unless they can be disinfected after every use. The guidelines also have a separate section on the purchase of tickets whereby non-cash payment methods like online ticket purchase, contactless card, the UPI applications or mobile wallets are advised. Flow markers shall also be used for physical distancing during queue management at the ticket counter. Adequate physical distancing of at least 6 feet must be followed at all times. The availability of the hand sanitizers, preferably in touch-free mode, at the entry and exit points as well as common areas within the premises have also to be assured.
Well, cinema theatres are opening in Chennai from today, but with strict standard operating procedures. Social distancing has to be maintained by the visiting public. Only 50% sitting capacity will be allowed, and separate staff shall see to it that no crowding occurs during the entry and exit of the public in the theatre.
And let's now move on to our next segment to get you all the news from around the world in across the globe. US President-elect Joe Biden has named a 12-member COVID-19 task force that will be headed by former Surgeon General Vivek Murthy, former Food and Drug Administration Commissioner David Kessler, and Marcella Nunez-Smith, a professor of public health at the Yale University. More on the transition of the power in the US.
US President-elect Joe Biden is to make tackling the coronavirus pandemic his top priority following his win over Donald Trump. Announcing the first steps in his transition plan, his team said there would be more testing and Americans would be asked to wear masks. Biden has announced a 12-member COVID-19 task force to mount an effective response to the pandemic that has infected millions and damaged the US economy. The task force will be co-chaired by former Surgeon General Vivek Murthy, former Food and Drug Administration Commissioner David Kessler, and Marcella Nunez-Smith, a professor of public health at Yale University. US President Donald Trump returned to the White House after a round of golf on Sunday as he and his allies made one thing clear: he does not plan to concede anytime soon. Handful of supporters cheered for him as his motorcade left the golf course and returned to the White House. The president, who has spent months trying to undermine the election results with unproven allegations of fraud, pledged to go forward with a legal strategy that he hopes will overturn state results that gave Biden the win in Tuesday's vote. World Health Organization chief has welcomed the efforts to strengthen the Geneva-based body through reform and said that it was looking forward to working closely with the administration of US President-elect Joe Biden. Biden had said he would rescind Trump's decision to abandon the WHO on his first day in office.
We congratulate President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris, and we look forward to working with his administration very closely. We need to reimagine leadership built on mutual trust and mutual accountability to end the pandemic and address the fundamental inequalities that lie at the root of so many of the world's problems.
Meanwhile, congratulatory messages to US President-elect Joe Biden are pouring in from across the world. Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga has said that he wanted to work with President-elect Joe Biden to strengthen the Japan-US alliance and to secure peace and prosperity in the Indo-Pacific region.
Japan and the US are countries of democracy. It is a universal value that we share as allies. I would like to work with the US to further strengthen the Japan-US alliance and to secure peace and prosperity for the Indo-Pacific region.
German Chancellor Angela Merkel also congratulated President-elect Joe Biden on his election and called for the European Union and the United States to work side by side, but also acknowledged the EU must do more to take care of its own security.
Die Vereinigten Staaten von Amerika und Deutschland.
America and Germany, as part of the European Union, must stand together to deal with the big challenges of our time, side by side on tackling the coronavirus pandemic, the fight against global warming and its global consequences, the fight against terrorism, and we must stand side by side for an open world economy and free trade, because this is the basis of our prosperity on either side of the Atlantic.
Meanwhile, celebrations by supporters of Democrat Joe Biden continued in Washington the day after he clinched the US presidential election. A constant flow of people gathered near the White House at the Black Lives Matter Plaza to celebrate the election of the new US leadership. The coming days will be crucial in drawing the trajectory of what is to follow in terms of the political leadership of the United States of America. Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, let's now take an update on the COVID-19 pandemic from across the world. As of now, more than 5 crore 12 lakh coronavirus cases being reported worldwide, with over 12 lakh 68,000 deaths being reported. Over 3 crore 60 lakh people have also recovered from COVID-19. United States continues to top the list among the worst hit countries by the pandemic so far, with the highest number of infections and fatalities. US has crossed the 1 crore mark in terms of infection, with now the caseload standing at 1 crore 4 lakh cases of COVID-19, with the death toll now surging past 2,44,000 in United States of America.
Now, the peak of COVID-19 pandemic in France is still to come. Its top health official, Jérôme Salomon, has said, urging the population to remain vigilant. The French cities that were put under curfew in October were, however, starting to see a lesser spread of the virus. The French government imposed a new lockdown on 30th October to rein in a surge in the new cases, although the restrictions were softer than in March to limit the impact on the Eurozone's second biggest economy. France's COVID-19 hospitalizations closing in on April record. France's new COVID-19 infections were sharply down over 24 hours on Monday. However, deaths and hospitalizations linked to the virus were sharply up again. Over 18,07,000 cases have been reported in France so far. The number of people in France who have died from COVID-19 infections rose to 40,987.
Well, Pfizer Inc.'s experimental COVID-19 vaccine is more than 90% efficient based on the initial trial results. The drug maker has said this on Monday. Scientists, public health officials and investors welcome the first successful interim data from a large-scale clinical test as a watershed moment that could help turn the tide of the pandemic if the full trial results pan out. However, mass rollouts which need regulatory approval will not happen this year, and several vaccines are seen as necessary to meet the massive global needs. Pfizer and German partner BioNTech are seeking US emergency use authorization EUA this month, raising the chance of a regulatory decision as soon as December this year. Meanwhile, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson warned it was too early to see the Pfizer vaccine for COVID-19 as a solution to the disease. But he said the UK government had ordered 40 million doses, enough for a third of a population, as each person would need 2 doses of the vaccine.
Now, the Canadian Prime Minister has called the Pfizer's announcement very encouraging. He hopes to see the vaccine coming in early next year. A second wave of COVID-19 is sweeping across Canada, which is setting daily records for new infections. Canada has recorded 2,68,735 cases and 10,564 deaths so far, forcing some provinces to reimpose sweeping restrictions.
Meanwhile, in some shocking developments, US President Donald Trump has sacked Defense Secretary Mark Esper, announcing on Twitter that the top US official has been terminated. Christopher Miller, the current head of the National Counterterrorism Center, will take on the role immediately. It follows a public falling out between Trump and Esper in recent weeks. Trump has so far not conceded the US election to President-elect Joe Biden and has vowed to challenge the projected result in court. In the weeks before Biden takes office on January 20th in 2021, Trump is still empowered to make decisions. Miller was seen entering the Department of Defense headquarters at the Pentagon on Monday, shortly after Trump announced the dismissal of Esper. The former Special Forces soldier served on President Trump's National Security Council before becoming the head of the Counterterrorism Center in August this year. In a resignation letter, Mark Esper thanked the members of the armed forces and said he was proud of his achievements in 18 months of service at the Pentagon. Top Democrat and Speaker of the House of Representatives Nancy Pelosi criticized the decision. She said the abrupt firing of Secretary Esper is disturbing evidence that President Trump is intent on using his final days in office to sow chaos in American democracy and around the world.
Now, more news from around the world. Armenia and Azerbaijan have signed a peace deal to end the war in Nagorno-Karabakh with immediate effect. Armenia's Prime Minister first made the announcement, and the Russian President Vladimir Putin confirmed the details of the deal brokered by Moscow minutes later in a televised statement. The declaration has followed 6 weeks of heavy fighting and advancement by the Azerbaijan forces. Baku said it had seized dozens more settlements in Nagorno-Karabakh a day after proclaiming victory in the battle for the enclave's strategically positioned second largest city. Now, as per the deal, both sides will maintain their current territorial positions, meaning Azerbaijan will keep hold of the military gains it has achieved since the start of the conflict, and Armenia will return other occupied territories which it currently controls in the phases over the next month. Now, amidst the deal to end the war, Azerbaijan's foreign ministry also released a statement about the Azeri forces downing a Russian helicopter near its border with Armenia by accident, expressing apologies to Moscow and the readiness to pay compensation. Russia's defense ministry said that one of its Mi-24 helicopters had been shot down over Armenia near the border with a region belonging to Azerbaijan, killing 2 crew members and injuring another. And we are once again shifting focus to our top story. Of course, a continuous coverage as far as the counting day, the judgment day in Bihar is concerned. The counting is underway. It began at 8 this morning. Let's go across to our correspondent Salman, who's joining us from Patna this morning. Salman, we were talking about how all the measures have been put in place as far as security is concerned, as far as following COVID-19 protocol is concerned, and we were talking about the trends that were that were witnessed in these elections. We had the youth and the population there of the state being much more aware, being much more responsible. Politicizing issues did not really affect them so much, but they were very clear, they were very determined that what they were voting for, and perhaps the core issues that they were voting for was education, employment, development and good governance, and these are the issues that always strike the chord with the electorate.
Yes, Nancy, youth were attracted towards Tejasvi as it showed in his rallies across the state, and he did a lot of rallies, in fact more than other leaders, more than other individual leaders. So the youth were attracted as far as employment is concerned. Tejasvi in his manifesto, in his party's manifesto, already promised that 10 lakh job, 1 million job would be given in his first very first cabinet decision. So that was the that may be a cause of attraction of youth towards Tejasvi. Migration was another problem. The youth was very much disenchanted with the present regime. But still, the JDU has its followings, and among women especially, because of prohibition and women livelihood mission. The Bihar livelihood mission is probably the largest employment generation scheme, where more than 10 lakh self-help groups have been formed, and crores of women are doing their own job and are self-reliant now. So those are pros and cons in both the alliance's favor or disfavor.
Right.
So these are the things that would manifest in today's counting. Yes, Nancy.
Okay. Well, also looking at the Nitish camp, the JDU camp, what's the sense that you get? Is there a sense of calmness there when you look at the JDU office? Because Nitish Kumar clearly in the final stretch of campaigning talked about, Ant bala to sab bala is what he spoke about in that final phase of campaigning. What's the sense that you pick from ground zero, especially when it comes to the JDU camp?
Yes. Actually, he made an emotional appeal that ki aap ye mera antim chunav hai, that was his words. So maybe it is an election, part of election strategy, but calmness prevails in the JDU camp right now. But nothing can be said as day is progressing, and as result come. the things would be clear, and some
Absolutely.
activities would
Yes,
show.
sure. As the
JDU
day
camp
progresses,
as
we'll
well
of
as
course have
Mahagathbandhan
more
camp.
clarity
Yes,
as far as results are concerned. But talking about these two sides, these two parties clearly, and of course we'll talk about the kingmaker in just a bit. But both the parties, both the sides, they're exuding confidence about winning these elections. But what's the mood really that you are sensing from the ground, and as far as these party camps are concerned? Because enthusing party workers is one thing, but actually being so confident about the results is another.
No one can be confident in politically awakened Bihar.
Okay.
So Nancy, it is hard to say at this present. Kaante ki takkar hai. Neck to neck,
It's a neck and neck
fight is
competition,
there.
yes.
So let us see what the day unfolds. So you can't even say that JDU would go,
Sure.
or anti-incumbency is there.
Right.
But the swing can be anywhere.
Okay. Salman, looking at the way Bihar has voted in this particular election, do you feel there's a new vocabulary in politics that comes into play? Somebody who's concerned about bread and butter, but also looking at, social inclusiveness. And that's very much evident in this particular election.
And just to add to that, while campaigning, vocab of course changed.
Yes.
Social justice became economic justice. So, yeah.
Yes, both the social and economic issues were there this time because those migrant laborers came helpless, literally helpless they were, and at times they had to walk right from their
Okay.
workplace to Bihar, and many of them
Sure. All right.
suffered plight during the journey. So these are the things, and social. The people are remembering how the Lalu regime was upbringing the social justice to the people who were downtrodden, and caste system is deep rooted in Bihar. So those things are there, and RJD regime of 15 years is remembered still now.
Right, Salman.
Okay. Salman, one quick word before I let you go. I asked this to Abhishek too. Small parties in this election fray, who do they hurt more?
Around 12 lakh migrant workers came back.
Okay.
To,
all right, Salman,
state.
we'll leave it there for now. We'll come back to you and in fact get regular updates as far as the counting is concerned in Bihar. Thanks, Salman, for those updates. We have to move on now. Let's get you all the news from the world of sports in a segment Sports Track.
Well, moving to our sports story. Well, our top sports story, the United Nations and Football for Peace, a youth sports movement, are organizing an online symposium today on the topic Unlocking the Power of Football, which will also be attended by Real Kashmir FC Chairman Sandeep Chhattu. The symposium will be hosted by TV presenter Hayley McQueen. Real Kashmir team have made rapid strides in recent years, will join global leaders and football legends. Some of the eminent personalities attending the conference are Vladimir Voronkov, the Under-Secretary General of the United Nations Office of Counterterrorism, Sheikha Alia Ahmed Akhtar, the Permanent Representative to the UN, Christopher Harnish, the Bureau of Counterterrorism, United States, Department of State Manchester United legend Dwight York, and Real Kashmir FC player Kashif Siddiqui.
And now we are focusing on our health story of the day. And today in our health segment, we are focusing on vitamin D. Well, that's one of the many vitamins that our body needs to stay healthy. Our correspondent Kiran Bhardwaj spoke with Dr. R.K. Marwa about the importance and the role that the vitamin D plays in our health and well-being.
Nutrition is the foundation of healthy life. We need variety of nutrients to keep our cells healthy. What is the importance and requirement of vitamin D for our overall health? Let's find out from Dr. R.K. Marwa. Dr. Marwa, what is the requirement and importance of vitamin D for our overall health?
The main function of vitamin D is to maintain blood calcium levels within normal range for sound bone health. Deficiency of vitamin D and calcium results in rickets in children, osteomalacia in adults, and osteoporosis and fractures in elderly. Recent studies have shown the role of vitamin D in reducing incidence of cancers like breast cancer, acute respiratory tract infections, acute asthmatic attacks, and autoimmune disorders like type 1 diabetes mellitus.
What are the sources through which we can get vitamin D?
Vitamin D is an important hormone for overall health and is primarily acquired through exposure of our skin to direct sunlight. In order to meet our daily requirement, one needs to expose 20 to 30% of our body surface area for 30 to 40 minutes per day between 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. In the absence of sun exposure, one needs to consume foods fortified with vitamin D like milk and cooking oil, or take vitamin D supplements to meet body's requirement.
Regular exposure to sunlight during the day will help your body to produce vitamin D and keep you healthy. Kiran Bharadwaj, DD News.
Well, after a look at that health segment, it's time now to take a jog down memory lane and take a look at all the important events that took place on this very day, 10th of November in history.
On this day, 1920, Datupan Thengadi, a trade union leader and founder of Bharatiya Mazdoor Sangh, was born. Thengadi, an RSS Pracharak for over 6 decades, was a member of the Rajya Sabha for 12 years. On the same day, 1938, Mustafa Kemal Pasha, Ataturk, Marshal and President Turkey, died of cirrhosis of the liver. He was succeeded by İsmet İnönü. On this day, 1970, the Great Wall of China opened for public viewing. Wall of China is the longest man-made structure and one of the 7 wonders of the world. On the same day, in 1983, Bill Gates introduced Windows 1.0 operating system in New York. On this day in 2001, former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee addressed the 56th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York. On the same day in 2013, Vidyadhan Detta, noted Indian writer of Rajasthani literature, died. Detta wrote more than 800 short stories, which have been translated into English and other languages. He received Padma Shri in 2007 for his work.
And let's now move on, take a look at the weather conditions for today. The northeasterly wind likely to strengthen over extreme southern peninsula India at lower tropospheric levels. Under its influence, isolated to scattered rainfall with isolated heavy fall very likely over Tamil Nadu, and moderate thunderstorm and lightning at the isolated places also very likely over Tamil Nadu and coastal Andhra Pradesh during the same period. Dry weather also very likely over rest parts of the country during the next 4 to 5 days. And rain, thunder showers at most places over Lakshadweep and at many places over Andaman and Nicobar, and isolated places over Tamil Nadu, Puducherry and Karaikal and Kerala and Mahe. And a look now at the temperature in your city.
Well, battleground Bihar election results slowly will trickle in. You need to keep your poise and cut all the noise as it unfolds across TV channels and newspapers as the results come out. But we'll get you all the latest, all the results as it breaks there across the 38 districts of Bihar on DD News and DD India. But remember, as the results or the election results come out, there is also a COVID battle that we all are facing, and we need to follow the simple acronym of SMS, that sanitize, masking yourself, and also maintaining social distancing at all times. So you need to follow that. At the fag end of this show, I'm going to get my mask on as Nancy will take us through what is in store for us.
Well, absolutely. But just to add to that, I'll also be wearing my mask when I'm on my way out. But I have to, in fact, tell you what we're ending with. With that, it's a wrap on this broadcast. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. But before we go today, we are leaving you with the glimpses of Colombia's flower competition, where scores of florists put on a spectacular and colorful flower festival near the city of Medellin. And before we end, yes, of course, do remember, it's a simple task. Just wear your mask. Take good care of yourself. Stay safe and stay healthy. Thanks for being with us.